Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. Let me just get the comments up here. All right, so my name is Glenn Coleman, for those of you who are watching for the very first time. And this is my beautiful wife, Tanya Coleman. You see she rocking that red lipstick again tonight. You see it. And we have some very special guests in the building, all the way from H-Town, Houston, Texas, by way of Jennings, Louisiana.
Come on, get it right. Got to put that J-Town in there.
We have Darius and Monique Charles. Let's clap it up, audience.
What's up, y'all? What's up? Hey, man. Thank y'all for having us.
Oh, man, absolutely. Glad you guys are here. So, for those of you who don't know, Marriage Matters is a podcast where we talk about all things relationships, primarily marriage. But, we like to think that these concepts, these principles, can pretty much be used across the board, right. I would like to think. So that's what we're all about. And like I said, we got our special guests, Darius and Monique Charles. So I always like to start off just real quick. Give us the elevator speech. Darius, I know you're in sales. You know about the elevator speech.
Yeah.
The elevator speech.
He's got that.
of the Darius and Monique story, if you can do that.
All right, cool. First, I thought you said elevated speech, so you said elevated. I'm glad you said it again. Darius and Monique Charles, lovers and friends, founders of Unity Ministries. We are all about marriage and growing the body of Christ and encouraging couples. So that's who we are.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, cool deal. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If you want to, comment. I see, we got our faithful people in here. I see my mom. My mom always is always
number
joining.
One fan, top fans.
And Miss Abby, and everybody else who's joined. Hey, give us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. And, we're going to get into this. So tonight, what we want to talk about is we're calling it the personality gap. We're calling it the personality gap. And I guess what we're talking about is we did a podcast, I don't know, a couple of episodes ago.
We live on Instagram also, by the way. So hello, Instagram family. Thank you guys for joining us.
IG. Okay, I'm gonna have to get on there. I'm gonna share this IG later.
Okay. But we talked about a couple of this is some, I don't want to say a couple of podcasts ago, few podcasts ago, how the Bible says the two shall become one. And I was saying that a lot of times we focus so much on the two becoming one that we forget that there is a two.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about, the personality gap. So we are we're different.
Yeah,
I'm a man and you're a woman, but personality wise, we like different things. We do things differently, right? We don't think the same. So that's kind of what we want to talk about. And Tanya and I, we were having this conversation the other morning. We were sitting outside on the back porch, which we do sometimes, just kind of drinking our coffee. And I forgot what we were talking about.
It was something random, but what came out of the conversation was that Glenn is super laid back, chill, feathers don't get ruffled too easily. And I am more of the passionate, immediate responder, kind of thing. And so we were laughing because like a week or so ago, what happened?
So Tanya, I know what it was. So
there was a couple of stories. So I was trying to see, okay, which
one? Both of them. But she has a thing to where she has to, she's very passionate. She's got to get it done. And she's got to talk about it, and she's got to. And so it was a couple of mornings ago. We got some things going on, and she got an email. Somebody emailed her early, whatever.
Like 5 something in the morning, which they were probably just up working, at that time of morning.
Yeah.
Not necessarily looking for me to respond back that early, but as soon as Glenn opened his eyes, I said good morning, and gave him all the information, and he's just like, I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's literally.
Wow.
I woke up and I rolled over and she was like, and I'm like, okay. But my point is this, is that I've learned that that's her personality. Mm-hmm. So I have to give her space to do that. And I've learned that even in that moment, a lot of times she doesn't want me to do anything about it. She just needs to talk about it. Yeah. The other one that I'll mention, just because when things bother her, she has to get it taken care of. This was one night, we were sleeping. This girl wakes me up and says, babe, scratch my back.
Wow. That's an immediate need, right, Tanya? You needed that.
I didn't. I was like, this out of this good sleep I was having to scratch her back.
Urgent. It was an emergency.
So she couldn't sleep because until she got that itch, itch scratch.
Yeah. So I'm like, come on, fam, but that's just her. So I guess that's so funny. Our personalities over the years that we've had to learn to give each other grace for and to make allowances for and discover that about each other. And I guess what we're going to talk about is that we talk to a lot of couples where they clash in that area where, just because if you don't think like me, do like me, speak like me,
make decisions
like I make, right, then your way is totally wrong. I'm right, so on and so forth. So let me kind of get you guys in on that conversation. What you think about it?
Yeah. It's funny because, man, like the first thing I thought about actually yesterday when you called me with Dr. Tony Evans, he said, you know what, if both of y'all are the same, one of y'all are necessary. So I think bringing, I think it's intentional. I think God intentionally put differences together so we could, learn how to get along with other people that's not like us.
Right.
So that's kind of what I think about it. But I do think every couple around the world deals with it. So when you told me about that topic, I'm like, man, this is going to be good because one is going to help us. We can get it talk with some couple that we know been in the game for a while. Y'all some vets, and we can talk with y'all about it, but also get some feedback with other people. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and we say to each other all the time, this is why differences attract. Because we always go on talking about how I've lost my train of thought kind of, but we normally just talk about how different we are and how sometimes we kind of clash on not liking some things, like for like TV shows, for example, he likes
she's hard on WandaVision right now. I'm like, what are you? I don't even like. Anyhow, go ahead.
So he calls me a nerd because I like Marvel and all that jazz. But I'm like, if you just give it a chance, you would like it too. Yeah. But he probably won't because that's just him.
Yeah, I'm a suspense guy, Criminal Minds, Law and Order. That's me all day long. But so that's what we think about it though.
So I think the first thing that I want to kind of talk about is for Tanya and I, what I had to learn to do, what we had to learn to do was first we had to recognize that I am not my spouse. Mm-hmm. That's and I think that when we do our premarital counseling class, that's one of the things we encourage. We encourage as much as possible for couples to have these conversations. I think one of the biggest things, the biggest issues is that we don't talk about it. We don't talk about our differences. So that's the first thing I think we need to do is recognize that we are different. And like you said, Monique, it's a lot of times it's those differences that attracted us to each other, right? And it's like there's a scripture that the Bible talks about. Where when I'm weak, I'm made strong. In other words, God comes in and makes up for my weaknesses. But I also apply that to my marriage. There's some areas, where I'm weak in that she's strong in, and she's weak in and I'm strong in. And so, learning. So when you have to recognize that because you have to learn how to use that to your benefit. So, we talked about it earlier. I'm a very neutral personality. and I don't have a lot of strong opinions except for when I have them, and I'm pretty neutral. Tanya is very passionate and she wants to see things happen. And so some instances, like she tends to be a worrier and I'm just like, whatever. Mm-hmm. And like the other morning, she said, I wish I could be more like you when it comes to it. And I'm like, well, there are downsides to me too, because sometimes I need to be motivated to get things done. So I'll procrastinate just because I'm like, we'll get to it when we get to it. Mm-hmm. So I drag my feet and she's like, come on, we gotta. So it's like, that's one area where we kind of synergize together, but we have to recognize that about each other. So I don't get frustrated at her worrying because I already know going in, she's going to worry. I can't stop her from worrying because maybe worry is not a
right. I was gonna say, I don't know if I like the word worry. Maybe I'm just like action oriented. I want to see whatever the issue is resolved. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to resolve the issue. I wouldn't really say that was worry. Okay. I'm action oriented about the things that concern me.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I like how you put those words together. And I'm gonna grab that. Matter of fact, we're never gonna put a scribe over them. Now,
it's one of the areas, where, like I said, for us, we've recognized. But my point is the recognizing of it. It almost makes it. I'm not gonna say it makes it easier, but I understand it.
Right.
I don't get frustrated anymore with her wanting, or let me just say it this way: some men may consider that nagging.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I recognize and understand that it's not that she's nagging; she just wants to get things done. And if I just do those, then it won't be so. And for her,
vice versa too, because I too have to realize that he isn't so much I have to get it done now. I have to give him time to process, to think about it, to just kind of let it mull over in his spirit for a little while, and allow him the time, the grace and space is like what I like to say. Give him the grace and space to take care of it when he's ready to take care of it,
right.
And sometimes I need to give gentle reminders, but I don't get necessarily frustrated or become nagging about it. So
right.
Yeah.
That's
go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say that's like having communication differences. Like the way I communicate is completely different from the way Darius communicates. He likes it short and sweet. He doesn't like that much detail. And I give too much detail. Yeah. It's a lot. But it's like, and another example, sometimes he tells me I'm complaining when really I'm expressing to him my frustration towards a area that's going on in my life, or I'm venting, or maybe I just need someone to talk to or someone to listen to, because I feel like him being my husband, I need someone, I feel like he's supposed to be the one that I can go to for either advice or just, someone to just listen, but if he tells me that I'm complaining, when I'm not, it's like, what I'm supposed to just keep it to myself. I need you to hear me and be patient with me and be able to listen to every word that I say. But yeah.
How have you reconciled that, Darius?
Well, just to hear every word gave me anxiety. I mean, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of words. But no, man, I think what Tanya said about the gentle reminders, that's very important. So like, even though I don't I'm not joyous to sit down and listen to her talk, give me all the details, like just her letting me know how important it is to her. To me, that's a gentle reminder. Darius, I really need you to hear me out, because I'm not worrying, because we've had some ups and downs in our marriage and things like that. So when it comes to a point where, excuse me, if it comes to a point where I feel like maybe she's worried, it worries me because I don't want her to worry. So I'm like, okay, that's why I get anxiety when she want to talk so much, because I feel like maybe it's getting to that level. Mm-hmm. But I think when she kind of like gives me that gentle reminder, like what Tanya talked about, whether it's I need to talk to you, a text message, or this is really serious, or whatever.
I'll maybe say, can I talk to you without you telling me that I'm complaining, or can I just, what I'm about to say is probably going to be a bit wordy. So brace yourself.
I'll say, if I have something going on, so I'm going to share this with you, or I'm sharing this with you. I don't need you to do anything or to fix it. I just need for you to hear me. Yeah. And I'm Monique. I have a lot of words.
And I think that's kind of, and of course, I always preface this by, I'm not saying that this is the same across the board. This is not a general, but in general, women tend to, I think it's like, I can't remember the numbers, but it's like women say
a lot more
like 10,000 words a day, where men may speak, I think it's like 3,000. So it's a huge difference.
Yeah. It's so strange to me how like it's how I don't know, like I can't, like for me it's hard to process, like whenever he wants to tell me something, or okay, say he's having a conversation with me and he tells me, I can't even like give an example, but it just be like so vague, and I'm like, wait, what? So this happened and that happened, and I'm like, and so I have to like kind of read between the lines to try to get the full story, and like, oh, okay, I got it now. After I had to ask questions, because he just gave me so little.
That's good. I need like how to get what you need out of him. Like I need more details. So give me.
Yeah. I gotta ask questions.
How do you respond to that, Darius, when she asks the questions?
When she asks for more details?
Yeah.
It's funny because I give her more in my way. So
like a little bit. He can do a little bit more.
So like if she's like, and I don't know, because it's like it has to be intentional, one, to be a little bit more wordy. But I believe that so let's say, I'm trying to give you an example. So she want to go what you did today. That's a great example. How was the day today? Man, that for me every day is good for me. I mean, so man, it was a good day. Yeah, okay. So what you did? I went by the office, made a few calls. We wrote 2 policies, and okay, cool. Who were they? I'm like, come on, like. So sometimes it's like, man, you want all the details, So sometimes,
like, whenever if he asks me, I'm like, well, I went here, I looked at that. Oh, in this store, let me tell you what I saw. I saw this and this owl. I thought this looked really cute on the wall. And then I went to another store.
It's definitely a task. So you definitely gotta, simmer down and like, really be able to accept the fact.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It comes with acceptance.
Yeah, like that's who she is. That's how she's gonna rock and roll. And like you talked about earlier, Glenn, is just knowing that we are different. I am not my spouse, so I can't stop her from communicating like she communicates, but I can, in a sense, get on her level at times. She can't stop me from communicating the way I communicate, but she can, in a sense, get on my level at times. But I don't expect to change her, if that makes sense,
That's really good. That was actually, I was about to ask a question, like in thinking about acknowledging that we are different, like you and your spouse are different human beings. Yes, we became married, we became one, in spirit, but we are, every day we're working to be one as we're operating, here on the earth. How do you acknowledge that, okay, my spouse is different from me. They think differently, they process differently, and honor those differences? Like, how do you honor those differences without, thinking, well, because I do it this way. This is the right way to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that my spouse does it, that's just wrong because it's not my way. You know, how do you honor those differences? Kind of, if you're, you know, thinking of any situation, a serious situation, or where we want to go out to eat tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think personally, you know, when you understand that you only know what you know, and like the way you were brought up and things like that, like your environment, your culture, and all this stuff is essentially shape the way you view things. But when you're able to kind of open up and accept the fact that if someone else is different, my spouse is different, they think a little bit different, they see things a little bit different, then maybe I can learn something different by the way that they see things.
Right, almost use it towards your as an advantage point.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Yeah. So I was going off of what you were saying. That was good.
Hey, freeload.
Yeah, that was both of us one mind right there.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. Just kind of knowing that your spouse does have something to offer. You know, they do have. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So like last night, for example, we were trying to come up with some points for something that we was going over. But it doesn't come as easy for me to come up with, you know, questions for someone or to come up with points and stuff like that. And so I'm like, Darius, you know, you're so good at this, you know, it just comes so easy to you. You know, can you help me out? You know, just like I'm trying to use his different way
I thought you were gonna say wisdom. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, I'll use that. I'm trying to use your wisdom as my advantage point, and you know, just help me out, you know, and like, cause it just comes so easy to him, you know. So
I think we talk about that with recognizing one another's strengths and weaknesses. You know, sitting at the church this morning, and so the pastor was teaching, and he said, you know, it's like he was talking about the different parts of the body of Christ. He said, you know, someone in your house is super organized and someone is not. He's super organized. I work really hard at being organized. You know, clean. I don't like germs and dirt and all that. But as far as like organizing stuff, it takes a lot of extra effort. He's like, you know, this is that, you know, and because he likes clean lines and clean spaces, and, you know, so we have to learn to balance that, you know, with one another, you know, and give each other the grace and the space to be ourselves. He knows that it takes me a little bit more effort to be organized, especially with paperwork. Like, that's like, okay, I don't like it.
I hate it. I'll say for me, and this is 19 years talking, right? Almost 20 years talking. But one thing that I learned that, you know, when people say that this is love, right? It's not, the Bible talks about it, love doesn't seek its own way or its own right. And, you know, going back to what you were talking about, you know, Monique, you wanted to, when you want to talk about your day, you want to talk about everything. Yeah. And Darius is like, how was your day? It was good. That's all I need to say. It was good. But I've learned that because I love her, I have to give her what she needs. And so if she needs, and excuse the term, but if she needs to word vomit on me, then I have to let her do. That's what she needs at that moment. Yeah. And if sometimes she just has to talk through it. Sometimes she has to wake me up and tell me about the email. And so after 19, almost 20 years, I've come to the place to say, if that's what my spouse requires of me and from me, it's my job. That's what marriage is. It's about making up that difference for her. Yeah. That's something that I've really learned. It took a lot of practice. It took a lot of work. But I've learned how to do that, how to just be there, you know, and even though that it's outside of my nature, it's not my personality, to, you know, and most people don't believe this about me, but you know, I don't like to talk. Most people like really is like, no, I don't. I'll sit and I can sit and not say a word. But I know that she, on the other hand, she wants conversation. She just don't want conversation. She wants deep, meaningful, intimate. I want to know your fears. I want to know your feelings. I want to know all that. And even though all that's against my personality, I want to keep all that to myself. She needs that from me.
Yeah. Look, I got a
marriage. I'll say this, I'll let you go.
Okay.
In marriage, it's not about what you want necessarily. It's about sacrificing or giving up yourself. I always tell guys this: the Bible says husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. What did Christ do? He gave himself, literally gave himself. So I have to sacrifice my silence sometimes for her, to give her what she needs.
Yeah, that silence is beautiful too, man. But hey, so let me say this. I want to ask this rather, because you know, a lot of times as men, like naturally, we always want to help out and things like that. So sometimes it's confusing in our relationship, at least, where they give a lot of information, and then either we don't know to give feedback or just to listen. So Tanya, maybe you can answer this question. When would be a right time for a guy who naturally want to, you know, help out, give his feedback, or just sit there and just sit still and listen? When would be a good time for us to gauge that?
I would say, and Monique just said it, is to ask questions. Like, you know, if she's talking and like, I'll just say something happened at work. And so she's coming home. It's been like 2 weeks now. And every day she's like coming home with something that happened at work. And if she says you don't have anything to say, then that means I want you to say something. You know, you to give your feedback, tell me your opinion, you know, not necessarily go and try to fix it for me, but give me your feedback. But if she is literally just venting, maybe she just needs that space to vent and to get it out. I know for me, I have to say it. I have to say it out loud sometimes to process. You know, I have to hear myself say it. And sometimes I'm in the middle of saying it. I'm like, girl, that's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Or I'm in the middle of saying it and I'm like, this is exactly what I need to do. But I have to hear myself say it out loud. That's how I process to get to that place. Or if I still don't feel like I know what I need to do, or sometimes I know what I need to do, but I'm just kind of like nervous about what I need to say or do, then I'll say, what do you think? You know?
Yeah.
You know, so either ask her or, you know, she has to say, okay, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
And this is the question I always ask: what do you need me to do?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You need me to do, or do you want me to do something? Do you want me to say something? And sometimes, even if she says, what do you think? I'll say, well, I really don't have an opinion on it. I just don't have enough information about it, or I don't have an opinion. I think that you should just think about it, pray about it, make the decision, and whatever you decide, I'll back you up 100%. So that's part of the feedback that I usually give her. And
that is not always good enough either. But I'll I really want her opinion, but it just depends on the situation.
But that goes back to those personalities, because like I said earlier, a lot of times I really don't have an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with not having an opinion. And I think that's one of the things sometimes for you that just kind of frustrates you about me is that it's like, I don't know, that just don't. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't concern me. But I guess if it concerns her, it has to concern me. So
I was going to say something a moment ago.
Yeah, I actually was going to go back to what Glenn was saying about. I don't remember exactly what you were saying, but I wanted to make the comment of dying to yourself. Whenever you were talking about how sometimes you just have to give in to what she wants, and I feel like that's something that I've had to learn how to do. To basically give in to how Darius communicates. Like whenever he gives me like those 1 or 2 liners, I guess I just kind of talk to myself, like, okay, cool. So that's it. Let me walk around, talk to myself for a little bit, not, you know, it's like I have all these thoughts in my head, but I'm like, that's not what he wants. He doesn't want me to keep on asking him questions, you know, interrogating him. So let me, you know, distract myself and go find something else to do, you know, just to go back to that point.
Grace in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, make a shirt that she always says.
I am gonna make a shirt that says that. Don't y'all make my shirt.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So in those instances, Darius, is it that maybe you're just walking through the door and it's like, okay, I want to kind of unwind and not talk a whole lot right now? You know, I'll tell y'all this, we are a house full of introverts in our house. Like, two of us are super introverted. That would be Glenn and my oldest child. And then me and my youngest child, we are introverted, but we are more extroverted than the other two. So sometimes, and what I realize is that sometimes when you have introverted people, when you go to work or you go to school or you are teaching or you're, you know, working with people, you can't be your introvert, right? You have to be completely extrovert and you have to show up and you have to do all the things that you have to do. And so when you come home, it's like retreat and I have to regroup, you know, and have my introverted moment before I can come out again and be 100%. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because I'm 31. I've been trying to figure out myself since I can remember. Because I know I'm naturally introverted, but I can be extroverted. And like what you just said, like in my line of work, you know, in sales, you got to talk to people to make money. So it's like I have to kind of push that extrovert out of me and stuff like that. But a lot of times with me, like it's not like walking in, I gotta like de-stress, I guess that's the word. I don't know. It's not like I have to de-stress, if you will, but it's like for me, I like to learn a lot too. So I could be listening to a podcast, listen to a sermon, and that's when she want to talk. So I'm like, okay, this is my, you know, that's my de-stressing time or reading a book or whatever. So for me, I think it's more like just bad timing a lot of time, or maybe from my perspective, I can do that apart from her. So when I'm getting with her, I got to shut it down. You know, now we're in Houston, so most of our drives are 30 minutes apart. So that's my time to plug into a podcast or something. But when I get home, I need to put it with my wife. So
because as soon as he gets home, I wanna talk. And it's funny because like we talk about, you know, being introverts and stuff like that. I feel like I'm, you know, a big introvert. You know, I really like to stay to myself. I really only feel comfortable talking to Darius and and people in my close circle. You know, like making friends scares me. You know, I guess it's funny. Like even talking about, you know, the thought of making new friends or whatever, it kind of like fluttered my heart a little bit because it's just, you know, I like being right here and right here. This is my happy place.
Yeah. You like to be among what is familiar to you and what's comfortable and safe. Yeah, that's typically that's what it boils down to. It's just like I know him and I know he loves me.
Judgments are out the way. Exactly. And I feel like with him, he's just like we go into a new environment and it just and something else that comes just so natural to him. You know, he'll go off talking to, you know, Billy, Joe, and Ray and everything. Where I'm just right here still talking to Sally a whole hour. You know, he done made 5 friends, but I'm just stuck on that one.
And you know what's cool though is that there's nothing wrong with that. When you have to step out of it. You guys travel and you teach and you do all these things and you doing your own ministry. When you are doing that, you're not operating in the introvert. You're operating in the extrovert because you're operating your gift. You know, and so then when you are in a different setting, it's kind of like, okay, I'm back into my introvert mode, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we have to realize that. I mean, we're just all built differently. You know, it's okay. And sometimes that's where couples really struggle because their spouse is built so differently than them. Yeah. I can't expect me out of Glenn.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's good.
And Glenn can't expect him out of me. Mm-hmm. You know, that's ridiculous. He's him and I'm me. Yeah. You know, we have to be okay with those differences. And I think a lot of it is, and that's why, and we'll get to some of the tools that we kind of offer to people, why we do the work of, you know, doing different personality assessments and going to conferences and, you know, in our own personal lives, getting coaching and counseling and all of that kind of stuff, because that's the work that we have to do on us individually and the work that we have to do on us as a team, so that those things that can be hindrances and barriers along the way, we can overcome them a lot, you know, easier. I say easier, but it's work.
And that's what marriage is. It's that, like, it's a two becoming one. It's an ongoing process. But I think for me, the one of the most valuable things that you said is that there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah.
If like, you know, I used to be hard on myself because I'm like you, Monique. I'm that person in the room at a party. It's like, can I just sit here and, you know, I don't want to mingle. I don't want to. And I used to be uncomfortable with myself because of that. Mm-hmm. But now, because some of it was, I think sometimes I make other people uncomfortable, you know, because I'll go. I remember going, like, taking a trip with coworkers, and we're on a plane together. And it's a 2-hour flight, and we're sitting next to each other, and I'll just sit there and won't say nothing the whole time. And I know that in their mind, they're probably thinking, did I do something wrong? Or why did you guys? But it's like, I'm okay, you know, I'm okay with that. But it's okay. It's okay to be you. It's and understanding that, and I guess one of the greatest things we want to bring out in this podcast is to understand those things about your spouse. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, to understand, like, the passionate thing about your spouse. So, you know, like with Tanya, you know, some of you who watched this before, you know, you've heard me talk about, you know, the high voice. She talks, you know, when we were talking, and it's not that she was screaming at me, but it's just, you know, I call it, I don't know how else to describe, but
your musical ears pick up changing tone.
But I understood, so now I know that she's just a passionate person. Mm-hmm. She's not, because most men were like, you ain't gonna disrespect me in my house. Okay. Well, her goal is not to disrespect me. Right. Her goal is to communicate effectively to me. And for her to communicate effectively, that's the way she has, you know, and on her side, she's learned that I don't like that. So she'll okay, let me calm, let me bring it down and talk, you know, here. But my point, we both have to make some allowances for each other to know it's okay to be me, and it's okay to let my spouse be themselves, and it's okay for us to grow and meet each other in the middle.
Right.
Yeah, you about to say something? Yeah, no, I think that's so unique, man. Like I say, I don't know when I first heard about Glenn and Tanya. I want to say maybe 2012, 2013. But it's so unique to know that we go through the same stuff, you know? Like, we was in Jennings, and I think y'all were Fenton or Elton or something like that.
Well, I'm from Fenton. She from Mississippi.
Oh, okay. Look at that. We learning something.
I have family in Mississippi.
I'm sorry there's any people from Mississippi on here, but I always say, you ever notice people from Mississippi don't say Mississippi? They say Mississippi.
Yeah. That's true. Mississippi,
yeah. Syllables.
No, but I just think it's so unique, man, to kind of know that, you know, a couple been married 19 years. We just hit our 8th year, and, you know, we're from different parts of the world and all this stuff, but we all essentially go through the same stuff, you know. Got to be able to recognize differences, be able to work with differences and all that. And as you were talking, man, I although, like I say, it's still something I have to work on when it comes to, like, just communication. That's just one spectrum of it, you know. Yeah. But just understanding that it's really beauty in differences. Because if Monique was like me, then I probably wouldn't like me so much. Like, dude, you got to talk some more. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like shares. To me, it gives off a light, if you will, because if you don't, I don't know. I guess, Glenn, think about it like this. You and I, or you and Monique, for example, right? Y'all both introverts, don't really like to talk that much. If y'all sitting in the same room, like constantly, you know, y'all just always with it. No one's talking. Eventually, someone is gonna be like, man, somebody gotta stop talking in here. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I see it, man. It's just that I believe there is beauty in differences, for sure. And I think that kind of makes it, you know, the journey worth it, you know, because you got it, like you said, we're becoming. We're not necessarily one. We're always becoming one. So I think that's cool.
And that reminds me of that question that Tanya had posted, I think yesterday, about what it would be like if you were married to yourself.
Yeah. What is it? What do you think it's like to be married to you?
Right.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a solid point. Yeah,
and my first thought was,
it'd be cool.
Yeah. Like me, you know, I'm comfortable with me, so it's like it'll be fine. But then I started like thinking deeper, like, man, I feel like the person who, you know, there's one side of me that, you know, doesn't like talking, and then I just want to, you know, just chill and relax or whatever. So then the other side of me that wants to ask like questions would probably be like, girl, chill out. Like, just go some, wait till Darius gets home to ask some questions. You know, that's probably, you know, so I guess just coming from that standpoint, I feel like I could understand, you know, what Darius, you know, goes through whenever I do bombard him with questions and everything, you know, like those times where I do come in at the wrong time. Like at the moment I don't realize it, but then it's like, oh, I'm doing it again. My bad. Let me chill out. You know.
And that's good, because I always say in your own eyes, you're always right.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so that's another thing that I really try to work on, is try to see things from other people's perspective, you know, not just in my marriage, but even, you know, at work, or, you know, when I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, it's like, well, you know, maybe they were really in a rush, maybe they were late for work, or, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I think the world in general would be we never, you know, we were talking about, Tanya and I, we were talking about, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to start another conversation, but we're talking about this one thing. And a lot of people may see this one thing as bad or wrong or not right, but I told her, I said, you know, they're just looking at what they know right now.
Right.
They don't know the backstory. They don't know all of the abuse maybe that person went through, and all of these things that this person went through that's causing them to act that way now. And I think even in our marriages, you know, we were having a family discussion the other night, and we were talking about a subject, and I could just see the passion in Tanya's face. And I thought she was almost about to start crying. I saw you teared up a little. I don't know, maybe not.
I always tear up. It's like nothing new.
But and again, I was kind of like, well, you know, kind of like, you know, it's. And she was just like very passionate. But I know her story.
Yeah,
I understand why she is so passionate. I know what happened. I know how she grew up, so I understand why this subject she is so passionate. So that changes the whole perspective. So now I'm not going to get offended again. Like, I think she's, you know, just disagreeing with me just to disagree with me. Well, no, it's not just, and I say this all the time. Unfortunately, in relationships, you're not dealing with you're not dealing with the here and now.
Right.
You're dealing with everything.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we don't take that into consideration. And that's why it's so important for us to know our spouses and to have these conversations and talk about the way you grew up, the money stories, right?
Yes.
Communication story, all
your marriage examples,
all of that stuff, because all of that plays into, it even shapes even our personality. A lot of times, in the organization that we're a part of, we were having this conversation and we're talking about we were going through the Enneagram, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the leader was saying that she was reading something about how even with the personalities, is it that's who we really are, or is that is not who we were, but we were shaped into that because of some things, some trauma maybe we've experienced in our life, or whatever we experienced in our life made us the person that we are today. So sometimes even the person we are today is not truly who we are. So sometimes really going back and doing the self-work to really discover the original you and live from that place. I know that's kind of way off, but
no, that's really good. We're because we, based on past experiences, rather from growing up or up until this point, life has a way of teaching us lessons, I guess, so to speak. And so we adjust, to cope with those things. And sometimes we get out of our true makeup, the way that God really created us. Like I was I can be super, super quiet and in a room of people and be the quietest one and, soft-spoken and all of that. But I hear stories that when I was a little bitty girl, like I would talk to strangers. I'm like, who? It's like a restaurant. My mom tells a story. We're in a restaurant and I asked this man behind me to crack my crabs because she was taking too long to do it. I'm like, me? Like never do that kind of stuff. But something along the way in our lives, we adjust our personality for, I guess, safety or, whatever it is, things happen in life. And when we marry people, when we encounter people and we don't ask those questions and have those deep conversations. And I just know that today, you are, you have a bachelor's degree, you work for this company and you make this much money, drive this car and live in this house. That's all I know. And I marry you. I don't know you.
Yeah.
Because we have to have those conversations and the communication, the way we learn to communicate with each other, that happens long before the wedding day. Like we have to learn to really communicate. It's going to grow, of course, over 8 years, over 19 years, that's going to grow. But really learning to set that pattern of communication is going to start long before we say, I do. Hopefully it should. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we want to give you guys some tools. And these are just some things that Tanya and I we use. Sometimes we use them with our couples that we coach. We use them in our premarital class. But these are just some tools to kind of help you identify maybe what the personality traits are for your spouse. And again, it's just kind of like the love language. We talk about love languages. But this is not to say, well, this is who I am, this is how I am, and no, it's more for you to know your spouse. So one of them is called the Enneagram, and there's one that we recommend. It's called the Ennea app, and it's ENNEAPP, Ennea app, and it's a free one. You can download it. It just asks you some questions, and it'll tell you you're this kind of personality type. And you tend to do this, and it just gives you a lot of insight into yourself. But again, that becomes very valuable whenever you know those things about your spouse. Right. When you know she's gonna react this way, or she's gonna
is why she reacts,
or this why she reacts this way, or he or she reacts this. So that's one. The Enneagram. A more popular one is the DISC assessment, DISC, the DISC assessment. And you can go to their website. They actually have a free test on there, and you can, if you want to do more, get coaching on it, you can do that. Another one is called 16 Personalities.
That was developed, I think, from Myers-Briggs,
which is another personality from Myers-Briggs. And then there's the one that I really like, and it's based on the DISC analysis, is the flight assessment, and this is by my boy Eric Thomas and Associates, ET Hip Hop Preacher. And it's not free. They also provide you with some additional coaching. And so if you say like for me, if I'm introverted and I have these tendencies, they'll say, well, here's some things that you need to work on or do to make sure that you're not just isolating yourself. So it's some really good stuff. So those are just some tools that I would encourage you guys to go and take those quizzes and those tests and find out what you are, find out what your spouse is, find out, how they think and why they think and what they think and all those things. And you'll be surprised as to how that's going to take your communication skills to the next level. When so when I talk to Tanya, if I have to have a heavy conversation with her, it's like, okay, I know I need to tell her like this, and I know she's probably going to react like this. So when she reacts that way, I'm not taking it back because I already know how like I said, she's going to wait. I know she's going to wake me up out of my sleep to read me this email. So it's like, okay, I'm okay. I'm not mad. I'm not, Now again, this is 19 years in, but I'm like, okay, she needed to tell somebody. She couldn't go tell the girl, so she had to tell me. So I was like, I rolled over. I was like, okay.
Monique, we gonna call each other so we can get all our words.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
That's what we need.
You call Monique at 5 o'clock. Monique is not answering the phone. Just so you know.
And that's up for the record. He woke up.
I woke up, but still, man, let me brush my teeth at least, But no, but I didn't. I was just like, okay, all right, well. I told her, I said maybe we need to schedule some time to talk about that or something like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't, because I'm making an allowance for her. Mm-hmm. She needs that, so I'm making an allowance. So
it's funny, man. You said that schedule some time because we were talking on the way to church this morning, about parenting and all that stuff. And I've been an uncle since I was 9, believe it or not. I got a niece that just got married, all this stuff, and so we got some experience, so to speak, with kind of knowing how to work with kids and stuff. We're like, man, when we get our own kids, I just hope that we keep that same energy. I said, yeah, look, when we got like disagreement, like we was actually talking about this. I said, we can't have a disagreement in front of our kids. It has to be like, you know what, babe, I understand where you're coming from. Let's talk about this a little bit. Like we literally talk about this now before the baby comes. Yeah. But I thought what you said was key. You know what? Let's schedule some time to talk about it. One, for somebody that don't like to talk a whole lot. Maybe I can, go and get in the gym and work on, get my mind ready for what I'm about to get into.
Our daughter is gonna be. Whenever we have kids, our daughter's gonna be a talker.
Yeah.
She's gonna, I feel it.
Glenn, I want to say this, man. I don't know how much time we got left, but I do want to talk about, man, what you talk about knowing that backstory. Understanding that, man, the way that people are is not, it's not by just happenstance. I mean, something caused that, you know what I mean? Something from an upbringing, from a word that somebody said to them or something like that, man. So that dating phase is so important.
Yes.
And being intentional about really understanding and knowing your spouse. So many people want that image of happiness in marriage. Mm-hmm. And want to look good, got the same colors on and all this stuff when they, but don't even know their spouse. You know what I mean? So it's just like really getting to know them is so important. So reading that story,
that's it. That's key.
We say that all the time. It's just like what you see posted on IG. That it's a photo. Exactly. They put a filter, they've cropped it, that you don't know what happened in the background before that picture was posted. You don't know what's going on, at home, so we can't, people say things like relationship goals, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just pick someone and say, oh, I want to be just like, this couple, Glenn and Tanya. Well, you don't know our story.
Yeah, I said, we're relationship goals.
We're all working.
Yeah,
we're all working to make it work. And I think sometimes people don't want to necessarily put in the work. They want the image. They want to take the picture, like you said, the matching outfits and everything was beautiful and the background, we're on the beach. It's all lovely. But when we get into the hotel room for the beach and we're fighting, what's the point?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like what you said, that they don't want to work for it. I think that an issue that with a lot of couples who are, I guess, a few years in, they don't want to continue to keep working for it. They don't want to continue to be that couple that they see or want to be or whatever in those pictures. So I think that's important, and keep on working.
And that's what I think. If you want to say relationship goals, what we do is we work, we don't commitment to each other. We're not gonna stop growing personally, individually, and we're not gonna stop growing as a couple.
Right.
So that's the thing, that if you could just continue to do that, if you could, and here's the other thing, you know, Darius, you were talking about that story is, and we tell our couples this, you got to realize if you got married at, I don't know, I got married at 22, which a lot of people say is young, but you know, I had to take this girl down the aisle. I was gonna lose her. You know,
that's a nuts.
I actually heard that story. Yeah, I heard. I don't know which podcast it was, but I did hear that story.
But what I tell people is, so that's 22 years of programming that you're coming up against, or however long it's been. Or if you get married and you don't do the work, then you know, some couples come to us and they've been married for, I don't know, 10 years, but you know, if they're 40 years old, well then that's 40 years of programming by certain situations, circumstances, all these things that shape them. So you can't change that overnight. Right. So that's important, that you have to continually do the work. You got to. It's a gradual process, and our goal is always just to be a little bit better than we were in 2020. In 2020, and then just, if we can get better, a little bit better every year, that's enough to sustain your marriage.
It's like working towards a promotion.
Exactly. That's
you're working towards a promotion in your marriage.
Exactly. I was just thinking of there's a scripture, I think in Ephesians chapter 5, and it talks about marriage, you know, relationships. And one of the things I think for the wife that you talked about earlier with the husband, it says, you know, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And for women, it basically talks about adapting ourselves. So we have to make adjustments, and sometimes, and I think in marriage we all have to make adjustments and adaptations for one another so that we can continue to grow and fit together as one. And sometimes a lot of people struggle with making adjustments. It's like, this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, and you
don't want to change.
But I feel like if we're not growing, like you just talked about, if we're not growing, then eventually we become stagnant. And if you know, you live here in the Southwest Louisiana, and if water is stagnant and it's just sitting, it stinks and it's full of bugs. You know, so nobody wants to do that. You know, we don't want to show up that way in our marriage.
So guys, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We've been in here about an hour, so we want to thank everybody for watching. Hopefully we said something I'm
saying hi to my
we got some IG folks over here. But hopefully you heard something that, you know, if it's just one thing that you can implement in any of your relationships, whether that's your marriage, your kids, relatives, or whatever, co-workers, we've done our job. So just real quick, Darius and Monique, I just kind of want you to share with the people, you know, where they can follow you, some things that you guys have going on. So social media, website, whatever.
So we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So Facebook is IDMC. So it's all this. What is that? 4 letters, 5 letters, whatever. 4 letters. IDMC Speaks. That's on Facebook, and YouTube is IDMC Explanation Point. And Instagram is the same, IDMC_speaks. So that's the difference on that. But we also have a website where we do love training once a month on every last Saturday.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. You can sign up at www.unityministriesum.com. So you can sign up for that. And if you want to know more about our ministry and get all our works, all our updated stuff, you can just sign up and we'll send that to you guys.
Okay.
And Monique makes some beautiful
blankets,
guys. Yes.
So
I have to get mine. I need to place an order.
So y'all can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook under Nique Knits. It's NIQUE knits, as in what you're doing, knits. KNITS.
Yes. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, we thank you guys for joining us. This has been fun.
Yep.
Yes, it has, man. Thank y'all. Hey, y'all taught us so much in this last hour. So thank y'all.
And yeah, well, again,
Absolutely.
maybe after all this COVID stuff, we can actually
Get together.
get together and do another live event. You know, so. But before we end, I just wanted to share one last scripture. This is Pastor David shared this morning. Shout out to Pastor David Riles over at Life United. This is Ephesians 4:2 in the New Living Translation. It says, "Always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love." Wow. And I think that just sums up everything we just talked about, making allowances for. So that's all we got for you tonight. Thank you for commenting. Share this with as many people as you can. Thank everybody for joining.
Yes.
And this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman, along with Darius and Monique Charles, reminding you that your marriage matters.